What's up, everybody? This is the Booch, and welcome to episode 5 of the Boochcast reviews, Darkside of the 90s. And once again, I am joined by the broke soulless ginger, Mr. Zack Scott.
What's up, dude? That's just me, the broke soulless ginger, Zack Scott. Generally speaking, I'm not that broke yet. Yeah. Anyways, good talking. Moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're here to talk about the dark side of our favorite decade, the 90s. Yep. And this one, we've got pretty good episode here. I know Zach has been excited for this one. Because this, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, this is more his forte than it is mine. This is more his world. So I expect him to have a lot to say this go around, as opposed to last week and the week before. But we got, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into Grunge and the Seattle Sound.
Yep.
It's the dawn of the 90s, and a rumbling is heard from the Pacific Northwest. The distortion of heavy metal fused with the chaos of punk. It was the right music at the right time. This angsty new Seattle sound is called grunge. It'll come to dominate the decade's Billboard charts around the globe.
That they did.
It did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, when you first heard them, evidently the first bunch you've been thinking grunge is what? Nirvana and Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, and all those other bands.
Yeah.
Just as well.
Yeah, it was more the attitude than the sound that attracted people. It expressed inner torment, and it was fun. Like, this was very much like angry music for like an angry group of people. You know, it was really like that type of music. Like, these were like a rebellious generation, and this was how they got their feelings out, was through this music.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I know, and the reason I know that's true is because one thing, Zach, you've always talked about before in the past is the aggression in mosh pits.
Yeah.
Kind of educate the young lads on that.
Mosh pit, basically, it means it's just, you just go around, swinging all around, acting like a bunch of hooping and hollering. It depends really on the band if they can really get a mosh pit, and they did. Other music was better, but that's not the point. But yeah, I've been in plenty of mosh pits, and those I don't do that anymore at 36 years. Most likely I'm the type of dude holding a beer in my hand, holding a thumbs up, like, yeah, having a great time. Enjoy, fuckers. Enjoy Broken Bone. I can't. No. Not anymore. No.
Nah, you kind of had to retire from that.
Yeah.
Because you were always telling me, dude, get in a mosh pit. It's a great stress reliever. How is it a great stress reliever?
Mosh pit's not a stress reliever. That music itself was a stress reliever. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
No. Mosh pit is not relief stress unless you had a shitty day, like seeing somebody win a championship who doesn't deserve it. Oh my God.
The often gloomy, rain-soaked city of Seattle might seem like a weird place to birth a new form of rock and roll described as fun. One time it rained every day for 3 months. People joked in movies, TV, and in stand-up about Seattle being a gloomy podunk town. It was a port city, which is why it was such a dark place compared to the rest of the country. And there's a lot of truth to that. Like, I actually heard a survey somewhere that Seattle, the city of Seattle, has the highest suicide rate in all of the United States of America.
Yes.
Like, more people commit suicide in Seattle than any other place in America. It is the most depressing city.
Yeah.
I mean, if those surveys have changed, feel free to comment below and tell us which one is more depressing today. But definitely in the 90s, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the reason was because of all the rain and the dark and the gloominess. Just the environment makes you miserable.
Like it is now. Bright and sunny, shiny, not a fucking cloud in the sky.
Oh yeah. It was depressing because it was isolated in the Pacific Northwest. And bands back then didn't want to travel that far. So a lot of the big musicians weren't really going up to Seattle. They didn't want to travel that far. They didn't want to drive all the way up there or fly all the way up there. It its own like isolated area. But this isolation inspired this new sound that was played in Seattle's dive bars and small music venues. Yep. The drenching guitar sound, the down tuning, the sludginess of it, the distortion, it had so much grit to it, it made you feel the rain in the music.
Yeah, okay, I can see that right there.
Yeah.
A lot of it was depressing, but hey, it was the 90s. Come on now, what wasn't depressing about it?
I want to know, have you ever felt the rain? But Soundgarden, Green River, and Tad are some of the first grunge bands to form. But major record labels from LA and New York never signed bands from this forgotten city. So for those of you that are familiar with Soundgarden, Green River, and Tad, they were like the first. They were kind of like the pioneers of grunge music. So they were the ones that really like created this music, helped it form, helped it grow, and really were the foundation for grunge music. Now, obviously, there are guys that went on to become bigger stars than them.
Yeah.
But they laid the foundation.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Basically, without these three bands, there is no Nirvana. They put out their own records, and in the beginning, there was no money, so they did it for the love of the music itself. This DIY method is fundamental to the birth of the Seattle sound and leads to the creation of Sub Pop Records.
Yes.
So a lot of these guys are selling their own, like, music and stuff. They would record, like, albums, pay for studio time, and basically sell them out of their trunk of their cars. Which is what a lot of, people do in the beginning.
Yep.
Hell, like, even comedians, like when Dane Cook did Harmful as Swallowed. That was his first album. He sold that out of the trunk of his car before Comedy Central Records picked it up. Back when they still did comedy albums.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
Not much. It wasn't even until Retaliation went platinum that people started taking a second look at the comedy album. Some people still do it nowadays, but it's more like something to sell than it is to like, rather than put you on the map or have played. Plus, SiriusXM still has a comedy station. So for no other reason, you can submit that to them. And then SiriusXM can play it like in rotation, like they do music.
Yep.
But so there are some people who still sell albums, but most of them just do it online now.
Okay.
Because you make more money that way. Not a lot of people are buying CDs.
No, they're not anymore.
Unless you have a car that plays CDs, then you might.
All streaming now.
Yes, all streaming.
All streaming.
Now, Sub Pop is a small local record label that launches this new sound, and it was the beginning of the decade. Their message was, fuck you, corporate America, we're going to take control of our own culture.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense. Like, the Grunge was like, yeah, we don't want to do it for the music, not for the money.
Correction. We don't do it for the money unless you give us money. Then we'll do it for the money.
Yeah, money means better equipment, guitars and mics, drums and everything else. No, you don't do it for the money at all.
No, they don't do it for the money.
No, of course they don't.
I mean, here's the thing. I will give them credit. In the beginning, it wasn't about the money. Yeah. But once the money came, they didn't turn it away.
No, they didn't.
They did not turn that shit away at all.
No, they did not.
And you get a lot more respect if you're honest about that shit.
Yeah, true.
Now, the name of Sub Pop comes from Bruce Pavitt's time working as a DJ down in Olympia, Washington at his college radio station, KOAS.
Yes.
And we meet him. Bruce Pavitt and Jonathan Pondman are the founders of Sub Pop Records.
Yes, they are.
So, they're the guys who created it. Jonathan Pondman was a promoter and radio DJ who would run shows in condemned buildings.
Yep.
He was a failed musician who eventually decided to promote bands that actually had a shot at making it. It's one of those like those that can't do teach kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like it's like he had the knowledge. It's just his musical talent wasn't going to get him anywhere.
No.
So let me go this route. So at least he's still making money in the music business, and he's looking at talent that actually has a shot.
Yep.
So it's not a bad route to go.
No.
It's kind of like, and I'll use this example. It's like when I was a kid and I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I wanted to be in the ring, wrestling, doing all that shit. I reached a point where eventually I realized that aspect of the business wasn't going to happen for me. But I circled around to announcing and managing and all that stuff. So I'm still able to work in the wrestling business. I'm just doing it in a way where my talent fits and I can still make money doing it.
True.
So I can still say I'm in the business.
I'm in the business.
Yes. And their goal was to put Seattle's music on vinyl and on the map.
Yes.
Pondman had the cash to fund the operation. So that was basically how they became partners. Bruce had the vision, Jonathan had the money.
Yep.
So, again, money plays a factor.
Yes, it does.
He eventually takes a job in Seattle mixing tapes for Muzak, the famous elevator music company. In his spare time, he releases his first vinyl compilation. This is Bruce. It was called Sub Pop 100, and it featured bands from across the country. Sonic Youth from New York, the U-Men from Seattle. And it sold about 5,000 copies, which at the time was like having a gold record in the indie punk world. So 5,000 copies is not a big deal to the big labels. In the indie world, that's huge.
Big.
You know, it's like one year at the Punchline when me, Jerry, and Joe Pettis and Steve Mills, we were 4 comedians in Atlanta. We had 40 people in the crowd at the Punchline on a Tuesday. If we had drawn that much on a weekend, it would have been an epic fail. But on a Tuesday, holy shit. 40's a lot in a Tuesday at the Punchline. The grunge revolution starts percolating in Seattle. It was a very vibrant, creative community with bands going to see each other in support, which is another big thing. And that's also kind of like, you know, local comedy and stuff. It's like, hey, you know, we have a big show. We'll come out and support you. You come out and support us. So the bands would go in the crowd and rock out to other bands.
Yes.
It wasn't like, you know, you're the enemy, fuck you. It was a brotherhood.
Yes.
Which is what you want your local scene to be it music, comedy, wrestling, whatever. You want it to be as much of a brotherhood as possible.
Yes.
Now, obviously, there are going to be times where you're competing against each other because you're running shows on the same day. That's a given. But as long as you're not in the same town, it's not that big a deal.
Yep.
You know.
True.
Trust me. Do not run in the same town. It ain't pretty. It ain't fucking pretty.
No, it's not.
Oh, God, it doesn't. The vibe was blowing steam by jumping off of PA speakers while being drunk and high on beer and heroin. Those were the 2 popular things to have. It was beer and heroin.
Beer and heroin.
One is okay, the other is not.
No.
They listened to bands like Sonic Youth, but also listened to Black Sabbath and Aerosmith. Which, those are, so that's like a combination.
Okay.
They put those sounds together to create grunge. So that's what they basically combined. They combined bands like Sonic Youth and combining Aerosmith and Black Sabbath. And like I said, they were mixing metal and punk together. This is going to sound like a weird combination, but it's kind of like when Ray Charles combined R&B and gospel. Nobody really did that before. So he found his own voice by doing that. You know, he combined R&B and gospel. It pissed off the gospel people.
Oh, it pissed off the gospel people.
Yes. You're turning God's music into sex. You're making money off the Lord.
And the problem with that is because...
And I say, why not? The Lord making money off me? I'm just getting my money back.
Yep. The Lord says we don't have to be poor.
And you know what the difference is between giving your money to the Lord and giving your money to Ray Charles? Ray Charles shows up. And he honest about the shit. He charged your ass up front. Oh, as always.
As always.
Pavitt eventually starts to focus on signing Green River, which consists of frontman Mark Arm, as well as Jeff Ament and guitar player Stone Gossard, who would later become founding members of Pearl Jam. A band that would go on to sell over 30 million records. So Jeff and Stone were the ones that formed Pearl Jam. Pavitt and Pondman worked on a shoestring budget and had Jack Endino record the bands live in his studio. They sounded raw and great. The first 2 clients brought into the studio were Green River and Soundgarden.
Oh, yeah.
Kim Thayil, the lead guitarist for Soundgarden, brought the two men together. He was actually the one that introduced Pavitt and Poneman, and they got together and eventually did business. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, not only was Soundgarden one of the bands that paved the way, the lead guitarist was the one that indirectly created Sub Pop.
Yep, true.
Because he got the two men together to form the business.
Yep.
So, you can't be a fan of grunge music and have at least not respect Soundgarden.
True.
You may not like their music, because that's subjective. But you gotta respect Soundgarden if you are a real grunge fan.
Yes.
Because he is one of the forefathers. They also enlisted Charles Peterson to do the photographs for the albums. Yeah. So a lot of the grunge albums you see with pictures and photographs, Charles Peterson's the one who took them. Mm. Sub Pop releases Soundgarden's first single, Hunted Down.
Hunted Down. Which
was free with the purchase of Green River's first single, Dry as a Bone. So, he's like, here's Dry as a Bone, you get Hunted Down free. And at first you're probably thinking, why is mine the free one? I think in a way somebody would kind of take offense to that. Mm-hmm. But then when you think about it and you look at the history, Soundgarden ended up getting just as much exposure, if not more, and made way more money.
That's true.
So, who cares if they were free? I'm just saying, that'd be my first question. Like, why the fuck am I for free? And then I see all this exposure. Yeah, you can just give these away. I'm making way more money off of these. Mm-hmm. Sub Pop decides to focus on Seattle's grunge scene and produces bands only from there. So now they have a target audience, which is a key thing in business, to have a target audience, as we mentioned in previous episodes. Yep. So they go strictly to there. Their message is, we're not the next big thing. We are the big thing. Mm. So, yeah, we're not the future, we're the present, motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. Soundgarden ends up being the breakout band, which gets played on college radio stations in the New York area, and they'll be able to lease a building to become the home of Sub Pop Records. Yep. So, they eventually get their own building, they now have their own place. Sub Pop had everything a record label needed except for one important thing. Bands. Yep. At the start of the 90s, while most of America is riding an economic boom, Seattle is stuck in the 80s economic malaise. For the rest of the country, the city is just another blue-collar backwater with few opportunities. So, as we've mentioned before in the past, in the 90s, economic times were great. Yep. Gas was cheap. You could afford shit. Mm-hmm. But Seattle was not quite there yet. They were still dealing with the recession from the previous decade. Yeah. They hadn't quite caught up yet. And this part's the funniest.
What?
Even its indie coffee chain, Starbucks, is still trapped in the gloom. But just like Starbucks, Sub Pop is on the verge of breaking out. By including a free Soundgarden single with every sale of their first LP, Green River's Dry as a Bone, Sub Pop gets attention for both bands from radio DJs across the country. Now, let's take a second here. Uh-huh. Indie coffee chain Starbucks. Isn't it hard to believe that at one point Starbucks was a small, struggling business?
Yeah, now look how big they are now.
They're the only coffee game in town.
Pretty much every place there's one Starbucks there. There's no Starbucks there. Just like a Waffle House. There, one right there. Racetrack, prime example. I'm sorry, Racetrack coffee's better than Starbucks. Starbucks sucks.
I'm just saying. Look at that. Starbucks is like, it was like at one point a struggling business. Yeah. Now where it is, like obviously if you grew up in the 90s and was drinking coffee, which I wasn't.
I wasn't either. Shocker.
You would easily believe that. Mm-hmm. Today, no. You can't fathom that Starbucks ever had a bad time because they are easily the top spot to go. Yep. I found that hilarious when I heard indie coffee chain Starbucks. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't recall Starbucks having a hint of indie anything.
Anything at all.
Yeah. But soon after a crisis breaks out at the young company, once they open the doors, Green River basically handed them the tape for their next record, and then announced that the band is breaking up. Soon afterwards, Soundgarden signed with SST, a more established indie label from Long Beach, California. So they just lost their two top bands. Yep. So now they're fucked.
They're screwed.
Yeah. We got one band that's breaking up, and another band that's like, we're going elsewhere.
Yep. Where the money's at.
Oh, yeah. But again, oh, no. It's not about the money, man.
It's about the music. Shut the fuck up.
Stop it.
You know.
This gets more embarrassing for these guys, by the way. Just so you know, we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg, courtesy of the Titanic. Place.
However, Mudhoney, a new band that was formed by Green River frontman Mark Arm, had us a show 10 days after Sub Pop opened for business. They saw them, loved them, and signed them.
Yep.
So Mark Arm gets a new band, while the other two go to make Pearl Jam.
Yep.
And he ends up getting signed. Yep. Now later they add the band Tad, L7, and Dinosaur Jr. to the roster.
Yeah, I know Dinosaur.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I have at least I think I got a couple songs on my phone somewhere. Yeah, so my playlist song.
Are they any good?
Yeah, they're okay. If you heard them, you're like, oh, that's who they are. I was like, okay, who the hell is that? Oh, that band. Oh, that one particular. So I was like, oh, I heard this before. God, it's been years.
I don't know who half these fucking people are.
I listened to a lot of it. I was like, okay, weird band names. It's like, oh, so like, wait a minute. A couple of them I know I heard of before. Pearl Jam. Who hasn't heard of Pearl Jam?
Oh yeah. You know what's funny? The first time I ever heard of Pearl Jam was when I saw Clarissa Explains It All, and she was trying to sneak out with her friend Sam to go see the band.
Yeah.
That's the first time I heard Pearl Jam. I didn't even know who they were, nor did I give a fuck. I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, you understand, I'm a kid. I don't listen to that kind of music yet.
Nope.
Basically, when I was a kid, I listened to whatever music my parents were playing.
Same here.
I was still listening to disco and the fucking Beatles and Michael Jackson. Because my dad liked the Beatles and Michael Jackson, and my mother played diva 70s songs.
Yep.
You know. In fact, my mother can do Congo Beat by heart. While everybody else is stuttering and stammering, she can do the whole chorus. You know, come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. I know you can't control yourself any longer. I don't know the rest of this, my mother does, so if she's ever here, we can have her sing Conga Beat.
Or you can ask the dude who sung that song on the Birdcage.
I'm good. So, wait, which guy?
The Spanish dude, their maid, kind of like their helper. He was dancing around in it all the time.
Never mind.
Okay.
The early days of Sub Pop were very stressful, but also very creative and less regimented. Anybody that had a good idea, you would just act on it. This is kind of similar to Fox. Yep. They don't have a lot to work with, so if you throw out an idea, it's like, fuck it, let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
That's the advantage to working for a smaller label or a smaller company. You're able to get more ideas out. If people have more shit to work with, the more likely they are to go, that's bad, I don't like that, nah.
No. Or like this, fuck you, you're cool, but fuck you.
Yeah. So and there are literally some people who will leave a big label to go to a smaller label just to have their voice heard. That's how valuable some people take their opinions and ideas. And Bruce and John had different opinions, but amazing chemistry. Yeah. Which I know is a lot for the younger generation here. People had differing opinions but could still work together? Why, yes they could! It's
we're the prime example.
Do you know what that's called?
What's that?
Adulting.
Yeah.
They have Charles Peterson be the photographer and the receptionist since they couldn't afford one. So again, they got somebody playing double duty. Like, yeah, you do the photography and answer the phones. So that's sometimes what you got to do when you got a limited roster. It's like, hey Zach, I know you want to do NXT. Can you also do AEW? We got nobody.
Oh yeah. Wait, what?
They had a thing called the Singles Club, where you paid for a year's worth of 7-inch singles. It was like $35 for the full year and $20 for 6 months. Charles would get the money and immediately go to the bank. And that was like his opening deal of the day. Go through the mail, find the money, quickly go to the bank, and put the money in the bank. That's what you had to do. That was, before you do anything else today, get that money in the bank. And when you work in independent anything, that is priority. Get the money to the bank.
To the bank.
Especially if you're being paid cash or checks or whatever. Get it to the bank.
Get it to the bank.
This helped keep them afloat in the beginning. Yes. So that's how they were making money off these Singles Club, payments. Yep. This is how they made their money. This is how they kept afloat. Now, to get attention for grunge and their label, Bruce and John go to the UK press to talk about Seattle. Because the US won't pay any attention, let's go to the UK. They brought in Everett True from Melody Maker to fly down and do a story on them. They set up all these shows so he could see the bands and bought him drinks all night, and he loved the music. So they paid for everything. They flew him down, treated him like royalty, because that's usually what you do. Mm-hmm. When you're doing business, when you want somebody to do business for you, whether it's, hey, write us a column, invest some money, sponsor us, you treat them like royalty. Yep. They don't pay for dinner, you book their flight. If they need a hotel, you put them up in a hotel. Or if you got no place to stay, oh, by the way, I have a guest room here. Or better yet, here's my bed. I clean the sheets. I'll sleep on the couch.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, you accommodate.
The only way I give up my bed is she's a hot ass female we can share. But I won't give up my bed for anybody.
I can't argue with that. Yeah. Plus, I know, when it comes to Mitch, you're a jealous person. So much so that when Mudhoney went over for a UK tour, they got 2 front-page stories in Melody Maker. This gets the attention of the U.S. media. Because that's how you get big corporate America to pay attention.
Yes.
Other people have to love you before they do. Sometimes that's how you get the person you desire. That's why they always say, sometimes the best way to go get a girl's attention is to show up with another chick. Because because in order for a girl to find you desirable, they have to know you're desirable to other women. Even if it's an ugly one. Yep. If there's a girl out there that wants you, there you go.
There we go.
Everybody wants a toy that they can't play with.
Very true.
Yeah. And I wish we didn't have to pull these tricks, but unfortunately, we do. They use old school advertising strategies, like giving the bands an origin story. One distinctly rooted in the American Northwest, being rough and tumble loggers, lumberjack types, which people did believe. So they had them believe like these guys were, blue collar lumberjack guys who got in, who wanted to pursue a career in music. So they would come up with these origin stories to try to get interest. Because everybody wants a story to go behind the band. Or go behind a musician or a comedian or an actor or whatever. The ones who get documented on the most are the ones with a story to tell. That people want to follow. You don't have a story? Not interesting.
Nope.
They loved it so much, when they found out some of them went to college, it killed their image. Well, because they're rebelling against corporate American man and institutions are brainwashing you, and then they went to college.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, you're not blue collar, you're not rough and tough and stumbling, you're educated. Yeah. It kind of kills the image. Because most people who are blue collar workers don't really go to college. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. By the way, just to be clear, so there's no misunderstanding, there's nothing wrong with being a blue collar worker. If that's who you are, and that's how you pay your bills, I respect that. Not only that, if you didn't go to college, I respect that too. College isn't for everybody. There's days I'm still surprised that I went. Mostly, it was more for my parents than it was for me. Because I've achieved a lot of success in my life. College played very little to no of a factor in it. There were certain classes I took that gave me some tools to succeed. But overall, I didn't need college for any of the things that I've done in and out of entertainment. But the point is, I went. So I don't begrudge people who don't go to college. College isn't for everybody.
College is not.
It depends solely on what you want to do for a living.
True.
Like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you got to go to college.
True.
You ain't going to get around that.
No, you're not.
But other jobs you don't necessarily need to go to college for.
Nope.
Unless some people still require it. The most depressing city in all of Washington, though, was Aberdeen, which was a small logging town still hurting from the 80s recession. High unemployment leads to high levels of alcoholism. It's here that a local band named Nirvana first hears about Sub Pop's talented producer, Jack Endino. So this is the birthplace of Nirvana. Kurt Cobain calls him and says, we'd like to come by and record a few songs. He agrees, and in one 5-hour session, they record 10 songs. He mixes it right then and there. Jack asks if he can make a few copies of them, and Kurt says, go ahead. Jack gives a copy to Bruce and John. John loves it. Bruce is not so sure. So Bruce is a little skeptical about signing Nirvana. He's not sure. Which I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh yeah, he's out of touch. Not necessarily.
No, not really.
Because Kurt encourages Bruce and John to see his band play live. Nirvana performed at the Central Tavern at 8 p.m. on a Sunday, and no one is there except John, Bruce, a couple of girlfriends, and a roadie. The show was not too impressive. They decided to do a single and see how it went. So it's kind of like a trial basis.
Okay.
We'll record a single. We'll put it out there. If things go well, we'll sign you to a label. If not, then we'll go our separate ways. And at least we tried. Sub Pop adds Nirvana's Love Buzz to the Singles Club. It does okay, but Pavitt's not convinced they're ready for a full album. So Nirvana asks if we pay for it ourselves, can we make a full album? If we pay for the session, we'll spend our own money on this. Which, I gotta give them props for that. Because that's how you know a band believes in themselves. When they're willing to spend their own money. Like when James Brown wanted to do a live album. And the record label was against it. He told his manager, he said, book the Apollo. We'll spend our own money on this. So that way, I get all the reward, but I incur all the risk. There's no risk to the label. If it fails, it's on me. If it succeeds, it's on me. And he goes, and of course, and now these are his exact words, not mine, that he says to his manager. He said, look, if it does well, I'll kick over some cash to the White Devil, whatever he think he deserve. But if I'm paying you, you're going to help me to do it. And he agrees to do it. And he went on to do a great, successful live album. You know, even Johnny Cash rolled the dice with Folsom Prison. Because nobody wanted him to do a song in a prison. He said, Johnny, your fan base is church folk. They don't want you singing to a bunch of murderers and rapists trying to cheer them up. And he goes, well, they're not Christians then. Love that answer! Or, you know, a lot of people like spending their own money to get things done. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he did Twins, he said, don't give me a salary for the show. That way we have more of a budget. Like you said, when they did the movie Twins, they didn't want to do it because they didn't want Arnold in a comedy. So they said, me, Danny DeVito, Ivan Reitman will not take a salary, but give us a big chunk of the back end. It's the best investment they ever made. Because Twins took off, and the three of them made more money than the studio, which they don't fucking like. Nope. You robbed me blind and you fucked me.
Into the chopper.
No, that's not the right quote.
What's about quote?
It's like, take out the dishes and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub the kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak, don't talk back. That's the quote from Twins. Now, Nirvana borrowed $600 to make the album Bleach.
Oh.
You like that song? Like that album?
Yeah, I like the other one.
The other one?
Yeah.
All right. The album boosts both Kurt's and Nirvana's confidence, and they start killing it at local shows. It doesn't break any sales records, but Sub Pop now sees the band's potential and takes them on a European tour with Tad and Mudhoney.
Oof.
But being on tour almost proves too much for the band from Aberdeen's frontman. They decide to put together a showcase in London. A week before the showcase, Kurt has a breakdown on stage. They didn't finish the show, and he told the band he couldn't do this anymore, and the band was breaking up. Like, Kurt just has a mental fucking breakdown on stage. Just loses his shit. And John took Kurt around the block just trying to chill him out and give him some perspective and give him some support. Kurt said, you know, when I look out into the audience, what I see? I see all the kids who wanted to beat me up in high school. That's why Kurt was uncomfortable. Because he's playing grunge music. So what are these people doing? They're angry, they're jumping around, they're being violent. So it's giving him like flashbacks. And that's why he's freaking out. He's got picked on a lot as a kid. So he's got PTSD on stage. And once again, John's in that awkward situation. Because it's like, we got to get into the showcase. But we also understand that he's in pain. Which is rare for record labels and producers and agents to do. Is to see somebody in pain and actually want to help them. Some of them are like, let's just ignore it and get him out there. Some people just don't care. Like Sub Pop was definitely a label that cared. And you can see that. They pulled Kurt aside and spent a day with him in Rome. And did some sightseeing for him to just experience one of the world's greatest cities. Chill out and have some good food. So they didn't talk about music. They didn't talk about nothing. Let's just go have fun. He was able to regain his spirit, and when the band played in London at the Astoria to a sold-out crowd of 2,000 people, they blew some minds. So by the time they got to London, Kurt was more than ready to fucking dominate. They rocked the UK with Tad and Mudhoney. Europe gets a taste of grunge, and they eat it up.
Yep.
But soon it looks like the tour is not the only thing Kurt is anxious to wrap up. Now this could be foreshadowing in multiple different ways.
Multiple.
Now, I took this one way, but the show took it another way.
Oh, different way.
And I'll tell you, and I'll explain which one as we go on.
Cool.
By the summer of 91, the rumors were starting to fly. With the release of Bleach and the buzz growing around Nirvana's European tour, the once unknown band now has interest from major record labels. And there are rumors that Nirvana is thinking about making a change.
Uh-oh. What kind of change was that, I wonder?
Bruce is sent to go see Nirvana, convince him to stay with Sub Pop.
Oh.
Bruce goes down there with 2 records, a songwriter named Daniel Johnston, and a vintage disc that had a cult following by a teen group called the Shags.
Oh.
He gave them as a gift to Kurt to let him know they are an indie label and will always champion the outsider. And major labels don't think that way. They'll give you a brief opportunity, and if it doesn't work out, you're not going to have a relationship. Sub Pop, on the other hand, despite the financial ups and downs, it's in their spirit. It's in our DNA. This is what we do. They listened to music all afternoon, and Bruce left feeling he had made a connection. He was wrong. I'm going to say this right now.
What?
Bruce gave the best sales pitch to stay with a label I ever heard.
What's that?
What he just said. We champion the outsider. The major record labels, they're going to promise you the world and then kick you to the curb when you're not good anymore. Mm-hmm. You know? That's how they are. 1 minute you're hot, the next you're not. Mm-hmm. And once you're not, they move on to somebody else.
That's true.
It's like the rich guy who dates a young model and when she's too old, dumps her for a younger model. True. As opposed to the guy who will stay with you when you're hot to when you're wrinkled old and can't remember his name. You just keep calling him the nice man.
The nice man. So,
that's the difference. So, and this dude poured his freaking heart out to Kurt. Mm-hmm. And Kurt already had it in his mind. Mm. Kurt wanted to be a pop star. And planned to go to a major label. That's what he was thinking about wrapping up. I was thinking something else. Mm. But we'll get to that later. They leave Sub Pop and sign with Geffen Records. Months later, they released their second album, Nevermind. That's the one?
That's the one.
Why do you like it?
It's just that controversy. It's just that album. It's just a lot of good songs on there. And I remember that's the one album that got me into Nirvana somewhat. I like a couple of Nirvana songs. They're still not my favorite band in the world, but no, still good band.
Did you hear the stupid controversy around Nirvana?
Yeah, I know about the baby in there.
Yeah, the guy who wants the baby as a grown up wanted to sue Sub Pop or the label or whatever because they felt you didn't have my consent to film that.
5-6 months old.
The parents gave the consent. And second of all, are you really gonna tell me people laughed and made fun of you for that? Say, you just look at them and go, motherfucker, I'm on the cover of one of the greatest albums of all time. Done with one of the greatest songs of all time. Mm-hmm. What the fuck have you done with your life?
Nothing.
What was your picture on? A milk carton? A wanted poster?
No.
You fucking loser. Not you. But I'm just saying, think about it. You were on the cover of a major record label. Why would you have a problem with that? How desperate for money are you in a PC woke bullshit world?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Now, the first single, Smells Like Teen Spirit, goes triple platinum. Yeah.
Every 5 seconds. Who doesn't remember that intro? What Weird Al said.
We're Nirvana.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what I am saying. I also remember this guy. You ever heard of this dude, Steve Crowder?
Yeah, I think so.
The guy who does the Change My Mind booth. He's like a conservative comedian.
Yeah.
He did a parody of that song. You know, it's like, let us whine now, that offends us.
Oh, geez.
We want control and censorship. Here I am now. Use my pronouns. I'm biracial and transgender, a pansexual and a lesbian. Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know about Nirvana is that the drummer Dave Grohl was also the lead singer of Foo Fighters.
The fuck?
You didn't know that?
No!
Seriously?
Seriously, he was a drummer?
He was a drummer of Nirvana, and they were good friends, and he went off to do Foo Fighters and become one of the biggest rock bands of all time.
Wait, the guy, the lead singer, the front man for Foo Fighters was the drummer for Nirvana?
Yes.
I didn't know you could flip-flop like that. Mm-hmm. How do you go from being a drummer to a front man? I didn't know you could make that switch.
He did.
Damn! That was news to me. Was he on the Nevermind album? Oh, shit! My respect for him just went way up the fucking roof. I mean, not that I didn't respect him before. I mean, Foo Fighters are a great band.
Oh, fuck yeah.
You know.
You know what? Someone tried to have the nerve to say that Nickelback was better than Foo Fighters.
Okay, as much as I like Nickelback, even I disagree with that notion. I especially love that cover song they did with Rick Astley.
Yeah.
I love that. Just that the fact they took that the beat to that song and did it on guitar. I can't
believe you didn't know that. Dave Grohl also was a drummer of Nirvana, also the lead singer.
Never fucking knew that.
Yeah.
I knew he was the lead singer of Foo Fighters. Didn't know he was a drummer. I didn't follow Nirvana a lot, dude. In fact, Teen Spirit's the only song I know by Nirvana. I didn't listen to any other song by them.
You heard a couple of them, you would know.
Yeah, I'm sure I would. I'm not saying Nirvana's a bad band. I'm just saying I heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and that was it. And it was a great song. And I've heard different people do parodies of that song. I even heard them do it on. They even did a version of it on Moulin Rouge. You know, they're stupid and contagious. You know, they're a great band. You know, that was a song that everybody knew. Like, there's certain songs, like, even if you don't like the overall band, there's at least one song from each band that everybody likes.
Yeah.
You might not listen to the full...
Flow, something about butterflies.
What?
Pro Jam, Even Flow.
Oh, right.
One song from Pro Jam, Jeremy, is about a school shooting. It's like, no, it's about a poor kid, killing himself in front of his classmates.
Yeah.
That was what it was about. It was not a school shooting.
Yeah.
About a kid who was so depressed, blew his own brains out in front of his class. That's the rumor. I don't know if it's true or not.
So so even though he brought a gun to school, he didn't shoot up the school, he just shot himself. That's different. I mean, it's technically a school shooting, just not, he just did it to himself.
Very much.
Not every people. So, anyway, Nevermind knocks hair bands off the charts and catapults grunge into the top 40.
Thank God.
They flipped the script and became the top band overnight. Another Seattle band is ascending right behind Nirvana called Pearl Jam. So it's like Nirvana's like the established talent.
Yes.
And Pearl Jam is like right behind them. Mm-hmm. They're on the verge of becoming the successor of Nirvana.
Yeah.
They're not quite Nirvana's level yet, but still, they're on the cusp. and their first album, 10, was released a month before Nevermind.
Yes.
And it helped cement grunge as a new mainstream music genre.
Yep.
Soundgarden, Screaming Trees, Pearl Jam, and Alice in Chains all wind up on the major label album charts.
Yep.
Now, Nirvana blew them all out of the water.
Yeah, it was always Nirvana for everybody.
But, of course, they were up there. Now, you did mention earlier about being an Alice in Chains fan.
Yeah, I do like Alice in Chains. No excuses. Probably one of my favorite. Of course, almost overplayed, like Smell Like Teen Spirit. I'm a man in a box.
Oh.
And overplayed.
I saw a parody of that recently.
Mm-hmm.
There's this YouTube channel. I'll give them a shout out here because I like them. They're called The Merkins,
Mm-hmm.
and they do horror movie parodies.
Oh, okay.
Songs, and they did one and they do of different horror movie characters. So they had one guy dressed as Pinhead from Hellraiser,
mm-hmm.
and they're playing that song. And it's Hellraiser saying, if you've watched Hellraiser, you get this.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes to Pinhead saying, I'm the man in the box. Scary with my pins. Don't think you can escape me. Escape me. And it's like Cenobites. There's nowhere to run. Sacrifice. Denied your maker. He who dies. Souls are taken. Cenobites. Now we're showing up. So they literally took stuff from Hellraiser and made that song.
And the award for worst voice in the possible world goes to Vinny Bucci.
Don't hate on me because I'm talented.
Anyways.
Oh, yes. Well, it's better than what Zack would be singing. Ring ding diddly lie dee, ring ding diddly I oh.
Probably I would be singing that.
Yes. Suddenly, the once overlooked city of Seattle is the hottest town in the country. All the major record labels are heading to Seattle to try and discover new talent. Grunge took on a life of its own and had become kind of a fad. Mark Jacobs' runway show to the movie Singles. So basically, Mark Jacobs had a runway show where he was showing a lot of grunge looks. And the movie Singles revolved around some grunge-type people in music. They drink microbrews and wear plaid. That's pretty much the what they do.
Yep,
you know?
I remember the plaid.
I remember the Dennis Leary bit where he's trying to go into a bar, but he's like, "No, this is a microbrewery." It's like, "Oh, fine, then microbrew me up a batch of fucking Budweisers, motherfuckers." He hated grunge so much. Dennis
I heard.
Leary. Yes, he hated those fucking people. The New York Times even called Jonathan to get some info on some in-the-know grunge slang. And he was smart enough to let the receptionist, Megan Jasper, answer the question. So for those of you that are wondering, yes, they did eventually hire a receptionist.
Goddamn time.
Yeah, they finally hired somebody so Charles can go back to just taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have to do that whole run into the bank shit anymore. That was Megan Jasper's job.
Mm.
And she came up with all the grunge phrases. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. She made them up. Mm. It was a fucking prank to fuck with the newspapers. But here are the grunge terms. Some of you might remember. One is called wacky slacks, which means old ripped jeans. Fuzz. Heavy wool sweaters. Mm. Plats. Platform shoes. Swinging on the flippity flop. Means hanging out. Mm. Bound and hagged. Staying home on a Friday or Saturday night. You were pretty much bound and hagged, so you were not having fun on the weekends. Score. Great. Harsh realm. Bummer. Cobnobbler. Loser. All this time I thought it meant something else. Yeah. It just means you're a loser. Okay. Dish. Desirable guy. Bloated big bag of bloatation. Means you're drunk. Lame stain. Uncool person. What started as a prank became regular slang. So this became the new grunge terms for people to say. Sub Pop's dream of turning the Seattle sound into a global phenomenon comes true. But as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. By the way, you ever use any of these terms?
No.
Neither did I. Indie bands started to see this phenomenal success, and it started a stampede towards the major label system. The top bands, including Mudhoney, are lured away by one of the corporate giants. But as Sub Pop's roster departs to chase big money, the company's survival is tied to a 10-cent investment it had made years earlier. Yeah, so again, where the money is, don't let them tell you any different.
True.
Typically, indie labels did not have contracts. It was a handshake deal. Once a record became profitable, the profits were split 50-50 with the artist.
Yeah.
I dare you to get a deal like that today.
Not gonna happen.
50-50 split with the artist? You would never get a deal like that today.
No.
On this planet or any other.
Maybe 75-25.
At best. And some of the bigger labels, they'll do like a 90-10. Because they greedy like that. However, a few months after the release of Bleach, the bass player, Chris Novoselic of Nirvana, came to Bruce's house late at night in a somewhat aggravated state and seemed very intent on getting a contract because he wanted to be protected. The next day, John went to the public library and Xeroxed a boilerplate contract, used a little whiteout, massaged it a little bit, and had Chris sign it. The contract cost 10 cents at the library to make. That's why it's called the 10-cent investment. And it became Sub Pop's financial lifeline by allowing the company to earn a percentage of both Bleach and the highly successful Nevermind. So they protected the bassist, but it also gave them a percentage. So the royalties from Nevermind helped finance the label. So as Nevermind went up the charts, Sub Pop was making a ton of money.
Very.
Now, yeah, so they got a percentage. So in a way, not only did it protect the bassist, it protected the label.
Yep.
Otherwise, they'd have been fucked when Kurt said, fuck it, we're leaving. And I will say this about Sub Pop.
Wow. With
With all the bands that abandoned them, I wouldn't fault them for giving out contracts anymore. Because they're the ones getting fucked. And that's what's worse. Because you hear so many reputations about major record labels or major promoters fucking talent over. And to an extent, that is true. But sometimes you get the labels or promoters or whatever who are good people and they get fucked by the talent. So it makes them have to do things to make sure they don't get fucked anymore. So it's a catch-22. So the bottom line is this. Like, that's why with me, as a talent, as a comedian, whether it's comedy or wrestling or acting or whatever, I'm always on the up and up. As long as you're doing right by me and I'm getting paid what we agreed upon, I'm doing the job.
Yep.
You never have to worry about me. If God forbid I ever cancel a show or no show an event, shit went down.
Yep.
I didn't just decide, fuck it, I ain't going. I got in a car accident. I had a family emergency, like somebody in the hospital. And even then, my family's had a family that would say, just go do your show, we'll handle this. That's how my family is. They would say, just go, there's nothing you can do here, just go do your show, and then come back. But in general, if I had to, if there's a major emergency, then I would cancel or no-show event. But other than that, I'm showing up, one way or goddamn another, if there's nothing major going on. With Nirvana's success helping to keep the lights on at Sub Pop Records, for Kurt Cobain, it only brings darkness. In the 90s, cities across America see the resurrection of the Beast, which is another name for heroin. And Seattle's grunge scene is ground zero.
Yeah. Remember that.
It's a dark demon in the rock and roll world, and most of the deaths are in Seattle. And not everybody gets out like Keith Richards. That's why Keith Richards is the ongoing joke, is this man should have died from drugs so long ago, but he didn't. You know, and that's why Robin Williams said as a joke one time, years from now, we'll all be dead and gone. Keith will still be there with 5 cockroaches. Like, you know, I smoked your uncle, did you know that? Fucking crazy. By the decade's end, the drug will kill a half dozen of grunge music's brightest stars. But it's one of those deaths that sent shockwaves around the world. The loss of Kurt Cobain.
Yep, for that.
Was up there with Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, and John Lennon. In the sense that people knew where they were. People knew where they were when they found out Kurt committed suicide. It affected an entire generation.
It did affect. I don't remember where I was. I was too young. I remember like several years later how depressing that was. It sucked. But
yeah,
the man was high off of heroin and decided to blow his own head off.
Well, didn't you mention something before about a 27 Club?
The 27th Club is famous musicians, rock musicians who died at 27. Joplin, Hendrix, Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Give Me One House, Tupac and Biggie.
The reports that Kurt was high on heroin when he pulled the trigger will make the drug central to the story of his suicide. So that's the difference. Like, I mean, the drugs played a role, but not a major role. Courtney Love spoke at a candlelight vigil, reading Kurt's suicide note, which stated, "I'm too much of an erratic, moody person, and I don't have the passion anymore. And so remember, it's better to burn out than to fade away." These things.
Look, the deal with Courtney Love, everybody agrees with me. She drove him probably to suicide to do the heroin. That's basically it. And I think you, Dave Grohl, don't like her either. She tried to do a successful band called Hole.
Suck.
Her hole is probably as wide as McDonald's cup. Anyways.
Kurt's death is a loss for music lovers everywhere. But nowhere does it cut as deeply as the Seattle music scene. They had a public memorial. There's a fountain and there's a huge bowl, and people just filled it completely to mourn the loss of Kurt. Kurt was highly sensitive, a creative artist type, who rapidly became one of the world's biggest rock stars after growing up in a remote town. You want the success, but not all the things that go along with it necessarily. All those responsibilities, like the meet and greets, the dealing with the radio stations, all the press, some people can handle it, but some people are socially uncomfortable. And here's the thing. When he said that not all the things that necessarily come with it, I was expecting more deeper stuff than that. Because here's the harsh reality. Everything I just listed is part of the territory. Like, meet and greets are the big deal. Because fans, the meet and greets after the show, or, it allows you to meet fans, maybe sign autographs and pictures, sell some merch. Like, that's part of the territory. Or going to radio stations. You have to do that to promote. So it'd be like, hey, come see Nirvana at the amphitheater this Saturday. They have to go on the rock stations to promote that. The Foo Fighters would have to do that. Nickelback would have to do that. The other, Soundgarden, all these guys. They come on, they have some fun, ask some questions and everything. And at the end of it, you go, hey, Dave Grohl, thanks for coming in. Make sure you check out the Foo Fighters this Saturday at the amphitheater. Dave, we look forward to seeing you again, my brother. That's how you do it. You gotta have the interview. You gotta have to plug. You gotta go out there. That's how you do it.
Get in.
I love that song. Something about that song just makes me want to plug it in.
Plug it in.
And,
or, my Vinny said, put it in, put it out, put it in, put it out. 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I just thought about that. I just did.
Yes. Even as the founders of Sub Pop mourn the loss of Kurt Cobain, they also face the prospect of losing their business. Record companies being crushed by major labels, flocking to capitalize on the grunge scene that Sub Pop helped create. It was a struggle for Sub Pop to compete with the other labels, for artists, and their employees had mortgages and families, and they were trying to keep things going for them. Mm-hmm. They had ambitions, but not the money to get a band into the mainstream and into the media in a country the size of the United States. The artists knew this, and that's why they flocked to the major labels. Unable to attract new talent, the little indie label that could starts running out of steam. To avoid derailing completely, they do something that would have once seemed inconceivable. They sell out. Mm-hmm. Again, they sell out to the man. They do a deal with Warner Music where they sell only 49% of the company so they can maintain control. Because once you make it 50-50, you fucked.
You're screwed.
So you got, but that 51% keeps you in control.
Yes.
But even with the new backing of a major label, Sub Pop struggles to reinvent itself. They had more money to work with, but they were just blowing it again. They poured too much money into acts that didn't pay off. They signed bands for $250,000, which Bruce admitted was dumb of them to do. Which I'll give him props. He's man enough to look back and go, yeah, we were stupid for doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I admit it. We did it, but that was dumb. Yeah, it was dumb.
Dumb.
They acknowledge it. I can respect people who can look back on something in their life and go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
No, they should not.
It's the middle of the decade, and grunge is now mainstream. Seattle's own vibrant indie scene is anything but independent. Soon after signing with Warner, the Sub Pop founders will be forced to make an agonizing decision. They hire executives who have experience elsewhere, thus killing the creative environment. And that is what kills every bit of creativity. Once you start bringing corporate people in with a corporate mindset, it destroys whatever creativity. Because corporations don't have creativity. They don't. They're not very creative people. They are by the money, by the book kind of people. You know, they do the cookie cutter stuff. That's why most people don't enjoy it. You know, that's why like certain shows, like even radio shows, some like the ones that are the most edgy are the ones that get the most airtime. But sometimes sponsors don't like it, so they end up going with the cookie cutter show that sponsors are comfortable with doing. But in a sense, you know, listeners or viewers don't like them. Then it's like they can't make up their minds. One minute they're like, y'all ain't pushing the envelope. Then you push the envelope and it's like, you're offending me, go be cookie cutter. Y'all can't make up your fucking minds.
No, they cannot.
So you're not helping the movement at all. Tensions build between Pavitt and Poneman. Their personal differences that they once celebrated now drive a wedge between them. Like a vinyl record, there are now two sides at Sub Pop. On one side is Bruce and the indie ethos that first launched the label. On the other side is John trying to appease the corporate money men that are keeping them afloat. 1997 was the coup in Sub Pop's history. Some members of the company confronted John with how Sub Pop was being run, and they finally presented him a letter with their demands. They were not trying to oust John. They didn't want John to leave by any means, but they felt things should be going another direction, and these people should be hired, and perhaps others should be let go. So they weren't asking for John's resignation. They were asking him to get rid of some of these corporate yes men, and let's bring in some people with creativity so we can get back on the right track. John took this as too much of a challenge to his authority, and he felt he was being undermined. And so in response, he fired the 4 guys that wrote the letter. The 4 people. I think one of them was a girl. But all 4 of them got fired. You're gone.
You're done.
And that's usually what some people will do if you come at them with ultimatums. They're just like, well, get out. Because they know if they give in to these demands, they're worried, well, if I give in to this, I'll have to give in to everything else. So I'm going to nip this in the bud right now. You're fired as a warning to everybody else. Don't challenge my authority. Bosses do that, by the way.
They do.
They will fire somebody to make an example out of them to keep everyone else in line. To toe the company line. Because that's what big corporations care about. Toe the company line. Do what we say. We're never wrong.
Never wrong at all.
Bruce was upset because he felt that they were the most valuable employees in the company. He was so upset, he doesn't just leave Sub Pop. He moved from Seattle to a remote island. He took a hard left turn and left the biz. He basically told John, fuck you, I'm gone.
I'm done.
He left. Bruce and John didn't speak for years. The only conversations they had was through attorneys. Bruce sold his shares in the company, so he has no attachment anymore. He basically sells off his shares, gets a settlement pay, and leaves. He described it as being like settling a divorce. Like, okay, here's the amount of money, here's the shares, this is your problem, this is your headache now, and I'm going to go somewhere else. In the middle of the 90s, guitars even kind of went out of favor for a while after Kurt died. People wanted a different music to listen to. Jack calls it the big grunge hangover. So basically, this is the point where grunge has pretty much come to an end.
Yep.
People are done with it.
Yep.
It had its moment in the sun. People don't want to be angry anymore or bitter anymore. Or they've got all the anger out of their system at this point. They're pretty much done. What?
You're always angry. I never had nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Why you keep lying to people, Zach? Why are you lying to people?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Stop lying.
No, I'm not lying.
Lies. Now, music like nature abhors a vacuum. And what fills the one left by grunge? So the grunge goes away. So we get, in the place of grunge music, boy bands.
Boy bands. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and 98 Degrees.
Yep. Which NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys took a hold on pop culture, as well as 98 Degrees. Mid-90s boy bands are factory produced by label executives, and the performers rarely, if ever, write their own songs or play any instruments. The days of rain-inspired angst music of the Seattle sound is replaced by blue skies and bubblegum. And here's the thing. I'll be the first to admit. When I was a child, I was not a fan of most of these bands.
No.
I think we can both agree.
Yeah.
You know, we were kind of like, what the fuck is this crap? But then, as you get older, and I'll be honest, with how shitty music is today, a lot of music today is crap. It is trash. It is god fucking awful. That it makes me look at somebody like the Backstreet Boys and go, you know, they're not that bad.
No, they're not that bad.
They're actually really good singers.
They are.
You know, and of course, here's the thing. When you look back on it, it's like there's the yin and the yang of life. The positive and the negative. The angry and the happy. You know, the gloom and the blue skies. After you go through a negative time, at some point, the positive has to kick in. So we go through a decade of angry, gritty, negative music. And by negative, I mean like, you know, angst and anger. You know, the teen spirit and everything else and the being angry and pissed off. But you know what? After a certain point, you just stop being angry.
Yep, pretty much.
You have to.
Yep.
I mean, it's happened to me. 13 years in retail, I was an angry son of a bitch. I got out of retail, I'm not quite as angry. Now, there are some things in the world that still piss me off, and I talk about them in podcasts and everything, but...
the most littlest thing known to me.
But, here's the thing. I'm not as angry of a person as I was when I worked in retail. I'm not that angry anymore. You know? Like I said, there's still some things that piss me off, and I talk about them, and I express them, and I get them out there, because people find it entertaining. But I make sure it's organic. I don't just force it. So, every now and then, there's some things in the world that'll piss me off. But in general, I'm not an angry, miserable fuck anymore. So that's the point. So, it makes sense for the positivity of Backstreet Boys and Sync and 98 Degrees. Now, we're not as angry as we used to be anymore. We're in a happier place, so we're getting happier music. And I like, so in a way, it kind of made sense. You know, to go from, you know, here we are now, entertain us to, I know that I can't take no more, it ain't no lie. I wanna see you out that door, baby, bye, bye, bye. You know, you get that way eventually. Give me just one night, una noche, a moment to be by your side. Give me just one night, una noche, I give you the time of your life. You know, songs like that are great. You know, like, you are my fire, my one desire, believe when I say I want it that way. Or, when we were growing up, you can do the parody version of Which Backstreet Boy is Gay. That used to be the song that... I sang that once at Home Depot and my boss lost her freaking mind.
I wanna be Jay.
I'll kill you that way.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a dream state.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing like Camp Crystal Lake. Tell me why. It's nothing but a sick game. I'll kill you that way. By the Merkins. I shout them out a lot. I love that group. And with many people moving on from grunge, many seeing the indie label who helped launch it as both corporate and irrelevant. But Sub Pop is about to prove these people wrong. Seattle came of age in the 90s. Amazon came into play, which we all buy stuff on Amazon nowadays, which started in Seattle. Now it's growing into something big now. It's everybody buys shit on Amazon. We got Amazon Prime, all that other shit. I wish Booch and the Car was still on there. We had a good run. But it's on YouTube. Check it out. Booch and the Car. Starbucks started to accelerate. As we mentioned before, it's the top coffee place in the world right now. Everybody goes to get their coffee from there, just about. Most of America. There was an identity transformation that happened in Seattle in the 90s, and all of a sudden Seattle became the place to move to, and that had a lot to do with the vibrancy of the entrepreneurial culture of Seattle. Seattle's transformation from damp backwater to destination city couldn't have happened without Sub Pop or the grunge movement. So none of this would have happened without them, because it put them on the map. But that metamorphosis wasn't without its casualties. The death of Kurt Cobain in 1994 is followed by the death of two more icons. Alice in Chains frontman Lane Stanley overdosed 8 years to the day of Cobain's suicide. And in 2017, Soundgarden's Chris Cornell ended his life after a long struggle with addiction and depression.
Yeah, I remember that. That sucked.
But unlike those legends, Sub Pop records will neither burn out nor fade away. Megan Jasper really helped turn Sub Pop around, as she had a long history with the label. She had worked for them in the late 80s and early 90s, and had been laid off. She was the one who delivered the fake glossary of grunge terms to the media years earlier that we were talking about. She came back in 1997 to help them, as they were so demoralized they wouldn't even wear Sub Pop t-shirts because they were embarrassed by the failure. Soon after her arrival, we had the success of the Shins, and then the Postal Service. That's a band, not the actual Postal Service. Obviously, they've been around for... It's a new generation of indie bands out of Seattle, and their album Give Up speaks to a whole new age. Sub Pop survived while a lot of indie labels from that era did not. They are willing to try different things and reinvent themselves, and they're running in a more financially responsible manner. Megan Jasper is now currently the CEO of Sub Pop Records. And a lot of the bands that left eventually came back, like Mudhoney. They eventually came back to the label. Their slogan is going out of business since 1988. Now they're a Seattle institution. They had their 30th anniversary in 2018. And here's a happier note. Bruce and John reconnected in the early aughts as Bruce started to really appreciate the music and hard work that John and Megan had done. Bruce and John started talking more, and eventually Bruce returns to the label. He serves now as a consultant to John Poneman at Sub Pop.
Sub Pop, yeah.
So they eventually became friends again. Which, you know, I think that's great. You know, I'm glad they were able to, you know, rekindle their friendship.
Yeah,
because that's the sad part. Here's the thing that people don't understand. when you go into business with somebody, the business end can turn friends against each other. Mm-hmm. Because you have to remember, it's show business. It's the music business. It's not friends. It's not art. AEW. That's because that's literally the difference. WWE runs like a business. AEW runs like friends. That's why they ain't doing fucking well. Because they're too busy holding on to friendships to not make the right business decisions. And sometimes that's why business decisions are hard to make. Because you have to make them to prosper your business. So you can either succeed or you can get broke together. And let me tell you something. The Booch, he ain't down with that broke together shit. I'm trying to get up here, and I only want to associate with motherfuckers that want to help me get here. If you're trying to bring me down here, you got to go. Out the door. Don't waste my fucking time. But anyway, that, ladies and gentlemen, will wrap up Grunge and the Seattle Sound. Zach, do you have anything else you want to add?
All right. We go off topic just a little bit, please.
Go ahead.
I respect grunge music. Yes. But there's one genre of music that he and I grew up listening to that is none other than nu metal. You know what band I'm talking about? Korn.
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit. Slipknot.
Papa Roach.
Maybe. They have one good song.
No, they had a few.
No, they didn't. Gosh, and bands like that. But when it comes to me and those bands, if any, you're going to add this at act shock what bands I don't like. I like, you know what to do. Like, I don't like Godsmack.
Damn.
I really don't care for Disturbed.
Holy shit, what?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Korn's better. I do not really care for Papa Roach. I really do not care for 3 Days Grace.
3 Days Grace. I think they're okay.
I will admit, out of all those bands, there's one that tops them all. And it's not fucking Limp Bizkit. That is Korn.
Yeah.
Done.
Korn's a good band. I do like... 3 Days Grace is okay. Yeah. You know, I do like the only song... I like their one song, Just Like You, is my favorite. You know, you thought you were there to guide me. You were only in my way. You're wrong if you think that I'll be just like you.
Or I hate everything about you. I just hate you guys in general because you guys fucking suck.
But Disturbed's a good band, though. I like them. You know, Down with the Sickness.
Over fucking played.
Oh, but I will say, the song I think gives them the most respect.
Sound of Silence.
Yes.
Or, like,
overplayed.
The most overplayed songs during the late 90s when it comes to nu metal. Number 1, Freak on a Leash. Number 2, Break Stuff on Limp Bizkit. Number 3 would have to be the song he just sang.
Come on, get down with the sickness. I have no idea what the lyrics are. I just know down with the sickness. Open up your eyes.
And I'm like, okay, good songs, but over fucking played.
So anyway, that, ladies and gentlemen, will officially wrap up Grunge and the Seattle Sound. Zach, thanks for joining me for this week. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys tune in next week. We got a fun one for you guys. It's going to be crazy. We got Baywatch Sex Sells.
Sex Sells. All we had to do is watch the girls go like this.
And we're gonna be doing more of that next week. So make sure you guys follow us on all of our podcast platforms. Links are down in the description box below. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. Links will be down in the description box below. Support the Boochcast by going to anchor.fm/theboochcast/support. Pick the donation that works within your budget. Link is down in the description box below. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Boochcast Reviews, Darkside of the 90's, as well as other additional Boochcast YouTube content. We'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, pizza, baby!